All right, starting a renovation can often seem overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be that way. Now, the reason you're feeling overwhelmed is because there's so many decisions to make and so many things to think about. And chances are you've also done some renovation research and maybe even found some conflicting ideas, or you've been researching through Pinterest and whatnot, and you're just kind of overloaded. And it makes you start to think, where do I even start? But here's the thing, like I just said, it doesn't need to be overwhelming. And if you stick around till the end of this video, you'll actually know what it takes to have a successful renovation, how to start planning that renovation, minus all the stress and minus that feeling of being overwhelmed. Let me break it down for you. So step one is figuring out what's not working, okay? Instead of just focusing on what it's gonna look like, I would like you to shift your way of thinking, right, into more of a, how's it gonna function? Let me tell you what that means. If every morning your kids are bumping into each other, or you and your spouse are in your bathroom, for example, and there's not really much room, it's very tight in there, that is the problem, right? So if you don't work on planning to fix that problem, you can spend a lot of money on your bathroom, and at the end of the day, you're still gonna end up with a bathroom that's frustrating, right? So you need to focus on the problem, not just making it look nice. Figure out what's not working. That's step one. Now, step two is, how do you use the space? So the second thing I want you to think about is to, again, slow things down and think about how you spend your day, right? Walk yourself kind of mentally through your day. Where are the points that in your space that you want to renovate do you find frustrating, right? Is it too tight? Is there not enough lighting? It feels dark all the time. Is there not enough outlets? Things like that. So it's things that bug you about the space, but also how do you use that space, right? If you find things are piling up over here, maybe you need more storage. If you find, like I said earlier, you're bumping into each other, maybe you need the footprint to be a little bit bigger. Things of that nature. So you need to define how you actually use the space. Remember, you're not building something just to look at, you're building something that you live in, okay? That's the mental unlock. That's what changes everything. And if you take the time you need at this point of your renovation, everything else just gets easier and easier. So let me ask you something. What part of your home really bothers you? Just that one thing. Let me know in the comments below, because I read every single one of them and I'm curious to know what bothers you about your home. Step three, what do you want different? We're at the part of the planning stage now where you can start thinking about what you actually want to change and start writing down those things. But this time, you're doing it based on what actually works, what needs to be changed, what are your pain points, rather than what you want it to look like. No more stress, no more wondering, where do I even start? Now you know where to start. So now that you've gone through the first three steps, you're probably feeling a whole lot better about calling a contractor. Why? Because now when you speak to your contractor, you'll be able to tell him what you want to change, why you want to change it, and you'll have at least a basic idea of how to go about that change, what's going to be required, that is, to make that change happen. But here's the thing, this part doesn't need to be frustrating either, or overwhelming, because you don't have to have all the answers just yet. Remember, you don't have to have everything figured out. You just have to have a basic idea so that you can talk to your contractor. Now, there's a lot of things that you should say to your contractor once they come and visit your home to investigate the space you want to renovate and provide you with a quote. But for the sake of keeping this video relatively short, I'm going to give you the top 5 or 6 that I would ask if I was sitting across from a contractor, at least to get started. you might want to think about writing these down. I'm sure they're going to help you when talking to your contractor. Number one, have you done projects like mine before? Okay, that's very important because some contractors, they might have been in business for 20 years, but they primarily do exterior work or basement renovations and things like that. But if you're doing a bathroom renovation, you want to make sure that the contractor you hire has worked on lots of bathrooms in the past and preferably recently. Okay, so that's the first question. Have you done projects like mine before? Okay, now the second question, can you provide references from projects that are at least similar to mine? Again, there's no point in getting references from a contractor and those references are for backyard, renovations or a deck they built last week, right? It's not going to help you that much with regards to your renovation. So the second question, I'll repeat it. Can you provide references from recent projects similar to mine? The similar to mine part being the important part. All right, question number 3. Can you break down your quote in sections? Materials, plumbing, electrical, and labor, so that I can compare your quote to the other quotes I'm getting. Now what that does is, again, that breaks it down into sections so that when you're comparing quotes with other contractors, you can actually compare apples to apples. Because if they just put down labor and materials, $1,800, what are you actually going to compare with the other contractor? Again, that question is, can you break down your quote into sections like materials, electrical, plumbing, and labor so that I can compare your quote to other contractors' quotes? Make sense so far? Okay. Now the fourth question I would ask is this. Is there anything I haven't thought about that you have that would make my project a success? Okay, and this is the most important question, or one of the more important questions. Now, the fifth and final question, just to get you started, is what do you need from me besides money that will help get the best results? And that's a great question to ask because a lot of times you not having the experience that a contractor has, you don't really even know what to ask, right? Or what's required of you. So they may tell you things like, hey, can you clear the driveway for me? That would really help. Can you clear the spaces leading to your renovation? Because again, that would really help. Things of that nature, right? If you have a dog or a pet, they might ask you if you can segregate your pet so that when they're working, they don't have to be so concerned about if they leave the door open for a minute, will your dog or cat get out, right? So by asking that question, the contractor will be able to tell you what they need from you to make the job go a lot smoother, okay? Now, by asking the contractor these questions, they can really help you fill in the blanks because remember, they have all the experience. They've worked with lots and lots of clients, so they know what works and what doesn't. So you don't have to have everything figured out right now. You don't have to have all the answers. A contractor can absolutely help you fill in those blanks, okay? So rely on their expertise. That's why you're hiring a contractor, because you're not the expert. Now, I've got a great video that goes over in more detail what you should share with your contractor. I'll link that video at the end of this one. I'm sure it'll help you. I suggest you watch that next. So here's the deal. You're feeling overwhelmed because there's so much to process all at once. So many decisions to make. But hopefully this video has helped to make you feel a little bit less stressed about that. Because again, you don't have to have it all figured out just yet, right? Just getting started. Of course, there's so much more that goes into having a perfect renovation, but if you do all the things that we talked about today, you'll be off to a better start than most. And if you have a good start, your chances of having a really good renovation drastically improve. So that's it for today. Thanks for hanging out with me. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this kind of content, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.